Hello students, today's agenda is to check homework. We'll be learning about synthetic division and we'll do 7.2. Today students will be able to review synthetic division and graph higher exponent polynomials. And in the previous lesson we learned about that if you have graphs that are monomials and the degree is odd, 1, 3, 5, and not only that, but the leading coefficient is positive, leading coefficient is positive, then you will have per se a positive slope between any 2 points. So the end behavior, when it's odd and positive leading coefficient, you will always have on the left, it will go down infinitely to the infinite negative for f of x. And on the right, it will go up. So down on the left, up on the right. And you can see this in here. Down on the left, up on the right. Down on the left, up on the right. Now, what if it's odd, but the leading coefficient is negative? Okay? Y equals negative x, it goes down. Y equals negative x cubed, it goes, whoops. Also from left to right, it's going down. And to negative x to the 5th power is the same, but we learned that in here it's a little flat and then it shoots sooner. Okay, so again in here, one is up and one is down, but it's the other way around. On the left, it goes up, and on the right, it goes down. So opposite of this one, okay? Positive slope and negative slope. Between any 2 points, there will be a negative slope. So what about when it's even? This one is easier to remember because both of the end behaviors will be shooting on the same direction. When it's positive, it will always go up. If it's even and it's positive leading coefficient, both will go up. Even but negative, the even makes it both go the same direction, but the negative makes it go down. Okay, now let me write the ones that we saw in the last video. If you need more explanation, that's a super long video, but it explains how to graph each individual one. So y equals x squared, you have a parabola. Y equals x to the 4th power. You have a parabola that it's a little, it grows very slowly before 1, and then after 1 it shoots. And the same for y equals x to the 6th power. But it's closer, and after 1 it shoots even faster than y equals x to the 4th. Again, this is an even degree. The coefficient are positive, so that's why even, both on the same direction, positive, going up. Now for these ones, we saw y equals negative x squared, y equals negative x to the 4th, and y equals negative x to the 6th power. And it's the same, but it's negative. Okay, same for this one, but a little wider. And this one, it grows slowly, but then it shoots. Oops. It shoots down. Okay, so this is something that you have to have in mind when we're graphing the next ones. There are different ways to find the zeros, but in reality, we're going to be focusing on only synthetic division for this lesson, okay? Synthetic division is review, but we'll still go in detail with it. So recap. If it's odd, one little hand will go down and one up. And the leading coefficient tells me which direction, which hands goes where. Positive, it's from left to right, up. Negative is going down. Okay, so on the left is up, on the right is down. And for the positive, on the left is down, on the right is up. But think of it first on positive slope, negative slope. For this one, if it's even, both will be going on the same direction. Same direction. If it's positive, it tells me that the direction will be going up, infinitely to the positives. But if it's negative, it's going to be going down. This is number one. For synthetic division, we use the coefficients and the constant to be able to divide. And so if there is no coefficient, then that means that there is a 1. And so what do? We are going to write it, leaving a space down here. We put the 1, 1, negative 11, negative 9, 18. And so basically what we're doing, we're dividing by a factor. So I want to see, I'm going to look at if the leading coefficient is a 1, then I'm just going to focus on the factors of 18. What numbers can be multiplied to make 18? 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. But not only that, we have to get the positive and the negative of that. What does that mean? What I'm trying to do is to see if this whole polynomial can be divided by the factor x plus 1. And to be able to do that, you get the opposite of this. So if it's plus 1, you're going to put minus 1 in here. By dividing, and if you end up with a 0 at the end, then that means that yes, this will be a factor. And so let's try it. The first thing that you want to do is bring this down. So you just bring it down the way it is, and then start multiplying this, the opposite of this in here, which is negative 1, times 1. So negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. I combine this, so 1 minus 1 is 0. I do the same thing for that one. So negative 1 times 0 is 0. I combine this, and negative 11 and 0 is negative 11. The same thing, negative 1 times negative 11 is positive 11. I combine this, and it's positive 2. Then I multiply that times the 2, and negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. I combine that, and it's 16. That means that this is not a factor, so it didn't work. Now we're going to, if we tried positive 1, now we're going to try with negative 1. So is x minus 1, is it a factor? And again, we get the opposite of that, which is positive 1. And I'm just going to copy these same values because it's the same. 1, 1, negative 11, negative 9, positive 18. And then again, I bring this first one down. We didn't do anything with it. We bring it down and we start multiplying. So 1 times 1 is 1. We put it up here, and 1 plus 1 is 2. Now we multiply that times 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. Combine that, negative 11 and positive 2 is negative 9. 1 times negative 9 is negative 9. I combine that, and it's negative 18 because it's addition of two depths, or two addition of negatives. I multiply 1 times negative 18 is negative 18, and positive 18 and negative 18 gives me 0. Since I got a 0, that means that this is a factor, and to make our lives easier, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to write the factor that we found, and I'm going to write this. So if this was x to the 4th, this will be the coefficient So 1, but we don't put the coefficient 1, of x to the third, the next degree, the next exponent in descending order. So when we started with x to the fourth. Because we took one x out, now it's x to the third. The second one is positive 2, and it's going to be x to the second power. The next one is negative 9, and it's going to be x to the first power. And finally, this is going to be negative 18. So now, these are two factors, but we still need to see or divide this part right here. Since we're bringing this into factors, it's going to make it easier for us to organize ourselves and see which ones are already factored and what else do we factor. Okay, so that's a factor. We're going to do the synthetic division again, and you can do other things to see if it works, like grouping, but for this lesson specifically, we're just going to focus on synthetic division. Again, we're going to find the coefficient, so use the coefficient. So it's 1, 2, negative 9, and negative 18. And we're going to learn about multiplicity in the next lesson. But for this one, what that means is we have to try again that one in case we have two of the same answer. However, in this lesson, we're not going to have multiplicity because we are trying to just focus on synthetic division. So don't repeat that. But if you're not doing this lesson with us, then make sure that you try x minus 1 and put the 1 in here again. And if you do get another factor or a 0 in here, that means that this is going to be with a multiplicity of more than just 1. Maybe that doesn't make sense, so ignore it if you're just doing 7.2. Okay, so now from that list, and I'm going to write it in here, we had positive and negative 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 18. We're going to continue with the same values that we found way up here. Way up here. So we already did 1, let's do 2. So x plus 2. That means that I'm going to use negative 2 in here. And so I bring down the 1 and start multiplying. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Combine, we get 0. Negative 2 times 0 is 0. We combine them, is negative 9. Negative 2 times positive 18. And negative 18 and positive 18 is 0. So yeah, that's another factor. And these are my 3 values for the next polynomial. So we bring down the x minus 1 because we already found that that's a factor. We found out that x plus 2 is also another factor. And again, because we had x cubed, that means that this is the coefficient of the next one, okay, the x squared. So 1 x squared. And we don't have anything for the next descending order, so it would be plus 0x. We don't need to write it. And minus 9. I know that this will be, it's a difference of squares, so you could just open parentheses if you're not practicing synthetic division. But again, for the sake of synthetic division, let's just keep going with it. And let's try with... Okay, so again, these are 2 factors. We're just working on factoring this one. The leading coefficient, look at what we're going to do. Just like we had in here, those are the ones that we're going to use. 1, 0x, and negative 9. So 1, 0, negative 9. 1, 0, negative 9. For the synthetic division, we do need to hold the place of the missing term, okay? So now let's try with x minus 2. That means that this is going to be positive 2. And the first step is to bring down the first value. So it's 1 and start multiplying. 2 times 1 is 2. Combine that. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Combine that and it's -5. We did not get a 0, so that means that this does not work. So let me rewrite this again in another paper. Okay, and so now that I have it here, again, I already tried. So it's 1, 0, -9. I already tried the x minus 2. The next one, let me rewrite those values. 1 times, 2, 3, 6, 9, 18. These are just the values of the factors of the constant, right? The last number in the initial polynomial. So we already did positive and -1, positive and -2. Let's go with 3. X plus 3. And so we put the opposite in here. Okay, if it's adding 3, we put -3. The first step is to bring that first value down and start multiplying. So -3 times 1 is -3. 0 minus 3 is -3. Multiply, -3 times -3 is +9. -9 and +9 is 0. So those are the values of one of the factors. Okay? So that's a third factor. So this we already factored out is x minus 1, x plus 2. We found that this is a true factor because we got 0 in there. So x plus 3. And these remaining ones is the other factor. In here, the next value, if this is x squared, then this will be the coefficient of the next descending order, which is 1x. Even if we don't have an x in here, the next one, this 0 is holding place for that x with exponent 1. So it will be x minus 3. On the last solution that we found, there is nothing else to factor. That means that we have all 4 factors, and now we can just equal it to 0. Okay, we're finding the zeros to be able to graph. And so to find the zeros, all you have to do is solve for x. If you want to do the process, you just put x minus 1 equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0, x plus 3 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0, and start solving. Okay, leaving x by itself. But we can just also get x minus 1. For this to be 0, x has to be the opposite, 1, because 1 minus 1 is 0. Or it can be -2, right? -2 plus 2 is 0. Or it can be -3, because -3 plus 3 is 0. And the last one, this needs to be +3 to make it 0, because 3 minus 3 is 0. These are the zeros. And basically what we just found with that is our x-intercepts. By finding the zeros, you're finding the x-intercepts. And we'll be doing a rough draft of the sketch of this one using the end behavior. This will be handy in this entire unit, so make sure that you have note of that. Pause the video and take note of it if you haven't. And so the first thing that we need to see, do we have a positive or negative leading coefficient? Okay, that's the first thing that we need to know, if it's positive or negative. The next one, or actually I would recommend doing this first, if it's even or odd. And I'm talking about the highest degree. In this case, it's 4 is even. That means that both hands will be facing the same way. Okay, it's even, both end behaviors will be pointing on the same direction. And if it's positive, that means that it's going to be pointing up. So let's graph in here. It's not going to be perfect, and we don't care about the middle or how it looks for the other values. What we care about is the end behavior and where does the graph cross the x-axis. Where are our x-intercepts? It's going to be shooting up. The values of our zeros are 1, which is right here. -2, so right there. -3 is going to be right there. And +3. It's right there. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So 1 right here, 1 right here, 1 and +3. Those are the values of our zeros. And so, again, because it's even, both are going to be shooting on the same direction. Because it's positive, both will be up. And that means that from this point, this is going to be my end behavior. And on the right side, it's also going to be shooting up. Now, I can just sketch it. We don't know exactly where it will be, where the local minima is or the local maxima. But again, it might be going this way or it might be going shorter. We don't know. What we're graphing mainly right now is our x-intercepts and the end behavior. So let's go to, we saw before Desmos.com, and I'm going to graph y equals x to the 4th, so put x, a to the b power 4, bring it over, plus x cubed, plus x to the 3rd power, bring it over, minus 11x squared, minus 11x squared. You can just press the a to the 2nd power. And finally, negative 9x minus 9x. And finally, plus 18. And so let me make this smaller. And I bet you saw that, but you didn't tell me. I forgot to put, I guess it didn't register the X when I pressed it in here, or I didn't put it, I don't know. Okay, so in here, I'm missing the X. And now it's going to make more sense. There it is. So you will see in here, that's how the graph looks in reality. You can see that it goes down all the way. Again, we don't care about where you're going to graph that, but you can see that it's lower than -20. And then for this one right here, close to -5. And up here, come on, you have another local maxima, which is almost 20. But again, we only care right now about these points. And so what you are going to be doing is showing the process, finding those, but you can actually check with your Desmos if that's okay with your teacher or professor, and that way you can see how it looks and maybe make it closer to what it really is. For instance, this will be longer and this is a little shorter. I mean, longer than what I did, but shorter than this one. Okay, for number 2, we have y equals x cubed plus 3x squared minus 4x minus 12. I immediately start by saying, oh, my leading coefficient is positive and the degree is odd. So that means that it's going to go down on the left and up on the right for my end behavior, okay? So have that in mind. However, we need to find those factors so that we know where on the x-axis does my graph crosses. Okay, so again, this is mainly focused on synthetic division. I know that we can do others like finding the greatest common factor, finding the grouping, or a combination of those. But in here, we're going to do only synthetic division. So we get the coefficients. That's the first step. So 1, 3, -4, and -12. Oh, and the constant, yes. Then we look at the factors of 12. So the factors are 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. Those are the only factors, but remember that we can either have them positive or negative. And the first one we are going to try is x plus 1. And that means that we're going to get the opposite of positive 1 is negative 1. Okay? The first step is to bring down the 1 and start multiplying. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. And combine this, 3 and negative 1 is 2. And now I multiply negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Combine those and it's negative 6. Negative 1 times negative 6 is positive 6. Combine those and we get negative 6. Because this is not a 0, that means that this is not a factor. Okay? Basically, you're dividing this polynomial by this factor, and you should get no remainder, because this, as we saw in previous lessons, is the remainder. So we cannot have a remainder. That's why that's not a factor. Now let's try with, we did positive 1, now let's do negative 1. So x minus 1. And because we were not able to find an answer, we're still going to use these same coefficients. 1, 3, negative 4, negative 12. If this is negative, I'm going to have positive 1 in here. Bring down the first coefficient, and so it's 1, and start multiplying. 1 times 1, 1. Combine, 3 plus 1 is 4. Multiply again, 1 times 4, 4. Combine and we get 0. Multiply 1 times 0, 0. Combine and it's negative 12. Again, we got a remainder, so that means that we don't have a factor yet. Now let's try positive 2. So x plus 2. Because we were not able to find an answer, we continue to use the same coefficient. So 1, 3, negative 4, negative 12. The opposite is negative 2. Bring down the first one just as it is and start multiplying. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Combine, 3 minus 2 is 1. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Combine and I get negative 6. Negative 2 times negative 6 is positive 12. Combine and we get 0. Yay, we found our first factor. Okay, so now that we found this one, we just write that as one of the factors, x plus 2. This means that we're going to get the next factor. If the first degree was 3, now, if the first degree was 3, now it's going to be second, to the second power. So 1x, we don't put the 1 as coefficient, to the second power. We're going to the next descending order, okay? We are going on descending order, so if our first one was 3, we took 1x out, now we only have x squared. The next one is plus 1x. Oops, we don't write the coefficient 1. So plus 1x minus 6. Again, because we're using synthetic division, I know that we can factor this. We can use the diamond or directly finding here two factors that multiply negative 6 and subtracted equals positive 1. But again, we want to practice the synthetic division. We're not going to be using multiplicity in this lesson. We already used x plus 2, so now let's use x minus 2, the next one. So x minus 2, that means that I'm going to put a 2 in here, and I'm just going to write the coefficients from this one. So 1, 1, and the constant negative 6. The first step is to bring down the 1. And we start multiplying. 2 times 1 is 2. Combine those. 1 plus 2 is 3. multiply 2 times 3 is 6. Combine those and we get 0. So that means that this is a true factor. So the first one that we found is x plus 2 that came from over there. Then we also found that yes, this is a factor because we got 0. And this remainder will be our other factor. Since the degree was 2, this one will be with the next one, with the next descending order. So it's going to be 1x and plus 3. This will help us find our 0 values. Okay, and let me rewrite it so we can do the graph as well. Here it is, and so we equal it to 0. Again, we're just finding the x-intercepts basically, and so in here, for this to be 0, x would have to be -2. -2 plus 2 is 0. For this one to be 0, this needs to be +2. And for this one to be 0, you need a -3 in there. -3 plus 3, 0. 2 minus 2 is 0. Now that we have our values, and this time before I graph, I do want to use Desmos. Again, it's not a commercial, but I love using Desmos. It's online and it's a free application. And so you need up to -3 on the left and up to +2 on the right. We graph those points. -2 is right there. 2 is right there. -3 is right there. Let me write the polynomial. Okay, and so again, it's positive, but it's odd. So down on the left, try to remember, oh, if it's odd, it's going to be going 1 down, 1 up. Because it's positive, the slope is going to be positive. Okay, so that means that this is going to go up. Try to remember it, but if not, use your little table. So it's positive, it's one of these two, and odd, so that means that it's going down on the left, up on the right. Okay, but let's see how it will look in here. Again, ask your professor or teacher if that's okay with them. So y equals x cubed raised to the 3rd power plus 3x squared plus 3x squared. Please let me know if I messed up. Minus 4x and minus 12. Sometimes it doesn't allow me. Okay, here it is. Those are the values, and -3, -2, +2, we are correct. Now we're just going to connect them like that. This is very close in here, so, and then in here it goes down to -12. Okay, so we're not going to go exactly, but it's a little longer than that. And then it goes something like that, and then it goes up. Okay, so more or less, that's why it's a sketch. Exactly the same. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you can, please support our channel by giving us a thumbs up, subscribing around here. We're getting closer to the 1,000 subscribers. You can find the link to the entire unit in here. The next lesson will be about multiplicity. You can find that video right there. And we'll be graphing. It will be combining synthetic division with other types of factoring, and also talking about multiplicity, having more than one answer crossing through there when it bounces and things like that, which is fun. So now you're able to do 7.2 and have fun.